cow, it's actually super windy right now for whatever reason. This will actually be the best test, I guess, for the sponge thing. No idea what that was about. It sounded like the guy was pushing and shoving, and I guess those police officers were gonna give him like a ticket or something like that for it. Today is April the 1st too, and that means it's April Fools. Although it makes me wonder, does anyone even fall for these April Fools jokes anymore? I think for the most part it's more about doing something so outrageous just for the sake of creativity and seeing if you can get a laugh. I think the only real one that caught my attention was this Burger King one. It's just a chocolate Whopper. Like it's so ridiculous. Like what is this? Chocolate bun, patty, raspberry syrup, vanilla frosting. It's so crazy that it makes me wonder if they actually did this, people would actually try it. I would in some sense, just by seeing it. As long as it's perfectly edible, of course. Again though, with the April Fool's joke, it's more about being outrageous and actually fooling someone into thinking it's something real. Maybe I should have got some kind of pilot to film the aerial views with a camera and just label it in the video saying, flying drone over no fly zone or something like that. I wonder if that would make people like, what, you did that? I think I'm gonna get some bruises tomorrow after that session. I scraped myself a bit hitting the wooden dummy. Let's go see how that cherry blossom is growing so far, the one way down there. Actually, an interesting thing from yesterday when I was flying, when I was capturing that dog, like that just showed up on the beach, one of the ladies, she came up to me, the owner of it, and she was saying how she bought her son a $2,000 drone. She has no idea what it is, like, and so forth. But then she was saying how, okay, you better be careful. If you land that drone, that dog's gonna like go crazy and go after it, because they always do for their own at home. And funny enough, when I was flying around, that dog didn't even care. Like at times I was just staying there getting the pan shot, it just ignored it. Makes me wonder if it was just due to the higher pitched sound, I guess, for some different drones, like the bigger ones. Or maybe if it's a Phantom, maybe it's because there's a hand on the bottom, the dog thinks it's fun to bite or grab it. I don't think this is an April Fool's joke, but this article was interesting. It says, Israeli woman finds a military drone lost 18 months ago. Apparently the woman found it near her home 2 weeks ago, it said, basically in a field. And I guess she reported it, but it said the police were skeptical at first and suspected that it was a civilian drone. But when they arrived at the scene and inspected it, they realized it belonged to the Artillery Corps Sky Riders unit. They removed the aircraft and informed the army. An internal inquiry determined that the drone was apparently lost about a year and a half ago during an exercise. The army, it abandoned its search for the craft after failing to find it. That made me think of it because in the other story I read a few weeks ago, if you guys remember, about the one where the drone landed in someone's backyard and they decided, yeah, I'll just let the dogs chew it up like as a toy. It makes me wonder, in this case, if you kept a military drone, like you didn't know and you just didn't report it, what would happen in that case? Would you be charged, like owning a drone like that?
For Ollie!
For Ollie.
He left it.
Oh yeah, the dog? Okay. And speaking of drones and military, this one actually got my attention. At first it said license to drone or drones license to kill and stuff. I was wondering what it was about because I thought maybe it was people saying, you know, again, ban all drones for like recreational people and all that, because you never know, people can potentially use it for deadly reasons. But then this one, it seemed like it was an interview, I guess, being done, and it was a Jesse Ventura who was talking about it. My knowledge of him mostly comes from wrestling, but I believe he used to be the governor in a state in the US. Now the main topic of the video, to my understanding, was people, like countries using drones, I guess, in a bad way, like military reasons. But then one of the questions came up, they asked him, it was something along the lines of, would you rather have, for example, a drone protecting you, I guess, as the military person, or would you rather have an actual manned aircraft? And he was basically saying he prefers the manned aircraft because to him, flying a drone is basically just playing a video game. So basically in his mind, unless I'm interpreting it wrong, he's basically saying flying a drone has kind of no real consequence, I guess, to the flyer. Like, it's not as serious, like the person flying it, whereas someone in a manned aircraft, he's actually going to be paying attention to you. You can communicate with him. But in his mind, a drone flyer, I guess in this sense, he's like, I don't know, is it the right way to say he's like a goofball in some ways? Like, you're just playing this for fun, and then basically if you screw up, oh, who cares? Oh, I missed the target, who cares? Like, that's basically the kind of notion that I got out of this. And then he used some kind of analogy saying you need a dog to fight in the field, whereas a drone you're not. And again, he emphasized the point how if someone's flying the drone remotely, it's basically a video game. If he screws up, oh well. Now, obviously, I don't fly drones for military reasons or anything like that, but the reason why it stuck out to me is because it goes along the lines of the perception and how people see a drone flyer. At the same time, I do play video games, not just as a quote like casual person. I play the really difficult games. That's how I got a lot of my skills to fly the drone, because in many ways it is similar in terms of the remote control and stuff. But what kind of basically bothered me a little bit about this comment was it's basically viewing someone flying a drone as it doesn't take a lot of skill. It doesn't take a lot of, say, coordination. You're not really serious. You're just flying it, oh well. Like, no way, that's not the case. I don't know about anyone else, but even when I'm flying, it requires a lot of attention to detail. Like, watch where you're going, see the objects around you, at the same time trying to capture whatever the subject is. Like, for me anyways, like when I fly the photography drone anyways. I mean, just for video games in general, I mean, do you think it's easy for some of those people, like when they play those games, like, you know how much hand and eye coordination they have to do? Especially in like those real-time strategy games where you have to think, where do I go? How do I build my resources? This, and you just go crazy with the keyboard. Do you know how much skill that actually takes? It's not just a, oh well, because your mindset is you don't want to lose, you're really focused. In this case, for example, the majority of people would probably view them as just, oh, it's just like some punk kid flying their quote toy. Funny enough, it almost makes me think for him, since he was a wrestler, it's almost like me saying wrestlers, they're not real athletes. They're people that do fake things. Everything they do is fake. So never contact them for anything physically demanding or anything like that, because that's what they do. They're fake people. They don't do anything real. It's kind of like me saying that with the drone flyers, funny enough. I know, for example, with wrestling, it's predetermined, it's scripted. But when you look at things like what they do, the athleticism, sometimes when they fall, or many times when they fall and stuff, it's actually for real. Like, let me see someone else do that. You can say it's scripted, but you can't say it's kind of like fake, they're unprofessional and all that, just like with the drones, in my opinion. Well, it looks like it's growing. Oh, what's that? Bird's going really fast. I guess like most things, people should actually try them themselves before making such, I guess, critical judgments like that. Because it isn't easy if you want to focus on flying things like drones in a really good way. I can imagine just like in the military, you know how much focus and concentration will probably take for you to control that, analyze who you're listening to and all that for instructions. So in my opinion, it's a little ridiculous if you're saying, for example, oh, because like someone flying that, like if they crash, who cares? Like even as a recreational flyer, do you think we're gonna want to crash our like whatever $1,000, $2,000 drone just like that? Like, oh well, I don't think so. It's just funny how people don't kind of look at things in a different perspective, just using their own experience. Like I said with that wrestling thing, how would they react if people kept saying, it's fake, they're not athletes and all that stuff? I mean, it's the same thing. I guess that's still the stigma with drone flyers, right? We're all, quote, little kids or whatever, we're unprofessional, we're gonna crash them, oh, who cares? I guess again, it maybe just getting it out more, letting people try it themselves will kind of open them up. Because in many cases with any sport or anything like that, if you don't really understand what's going on, you can look at it and say, oh, that's so stupid, even I can do it. And then once you do it, you're like, okay, now I have respect for that. So I guess more people just need to try flying things like drones themselves and experience it. Holy cow, it's super windy too. This would be a stabilization test with a drone. Yeah, that's really, really windy. Not bad. That was pretty stable considering the wind. Alright, see you guys later.